Imagine a place shrouded in mystery where decisions made in silence can resonate for centuries. This place is almost invisible on the map, yet it holds enough power to influence governments, overthrow kings, and shape the destinies of millions. Behind its golden domes and Renaissance art lies another world, a realm of secrets, intrigues, and mysteries known to few. This is the story of the smallest country in the world, yet one of the most influential and powerful in history. In this Global Gallivant episode, we'll uncover the dark side of the Vatican, where faith and power intertwine and appearances can be deceiving. First, let's explore the Vatican's location and geography. Officially the smallest country globally, the Vatican spans just 0.16 square miles, small enough to fit almost 8 times within Central Park. Nestled in the heart of Rome, it is an island within Italy, separated by walls that define its borders. Despite its global significance, the Vatican has a resident population of just over 800 people, not all of whom are citizens. Citizenship is granted exclusively to those holding official positions within the state. Its few streets, such as Via della Posta and Via del Pellegrino, connect administrative buildings, museums, and the imposing St. Peter's Square. The walls surrounding the Vatican have a curious history, which we will delve into next. The Vatican's history predates its recognition as a country. For centuries, the area now known as St. Peter's Square was considered sacred, believed to house the tomb of the Apostle Peter. It wasn't until the 4th century, with the construction of St. Peter's Basilica by Emperor Constantine, that the site gained political importance. Over time, the popes ruled vast areas of the Italian peninsula, known as the Papal States, for nearly 1,000 years. This dominion ended in the 19th century with the Italian unification movement, which seized much of these lands. In 1870, Rome was incorporated into the new Kingdom of Italy, and Pope Pius IX declared himself a prisoner within the Vatican walls. It wasn't until 1929, with the Lateran Treaty, that the Vatican became an independent state, a tiny territory enclosed by high stone walls. These walls not only demarcate geographical boundaries but also protect valuable secrets that remain under lock and key, giving rise to some of the most intriguing stories. One such story is the disappearance of Emanuela Orlandi. On June 22, 1983, 15-year-old Emanuela, the daughter of a Vatican official, left home for a music lesson in Rome and vanished. What seemed like a routine disappearance soon became one of the greatest mysteries in recent history. Initial clues led nowhere, and theories emerged linking her disappearance to the attempted assassination of Pope John Paul II, the Italian mafia, and financial scandals within the Vatican Bank. Decades later, Emanuela's whereabouts remain unknown, with no body found and no conclusive evidence. The Vatican's silence has only fueled suspicions of a possible cover-up. This case is not an isolated incident. Internal disputes over control of the Vatican reveal a complex power game. Behind the solemn ceremonies and apparent unity, the Vatican is a stage for internal disputes spanning centuries. Fights over influence, ideological rivalries, and silent battles for control have shaped the choice of popes and the fate of nations. Documents revealed in the book His Holiness, The Secret Letters of Benedict XVI, by journalists Gianluigi Nuzzi and Emiliano Fittipaldi show how Pope Benedict XVI faced constant pressure and betrayal from within the Roman Curia. This internal strife was a significant factor in his historic resignation in 2013, something that had not occurred in over 600 years. Decades earlier, in 1978, another episode exposed these internal struggles when Pope John Paul I died suddenly just 33 days after assuming the pontificate. Journalist David Yallop, in his book In God's Name, argues that Albino Luciani was poisoned for attempting to tackle corruption in the Vatican Bank and dismantle power networks involving high-ranking clerics and the Masonic Lodge P2, a controversial group investigated for bribery and political manipulation in Italy. The Vatican has never been a place of consensus, and the greater the power struggle, the higher the risk of deeper scandals, as we will see next. One of the most significant financial scandals involves the Institute for the Works of Religion, better known as the Vatican Bank. Established in 1942 to manage funds for religious and charitable activities, it became entangled in some of the biggest financial scandals of the 20th century. In the 1970s, the Vatican Bank was implicated in the collapse of Banco Ambrosiano. The bank's president, Roberto Calvi, known as God's banker, had a close relationship with the Vatican. In 1982, Banco Ambrosiano went bankrupt, leaving a shortfall of over $1.3 billion. Days later, Calvi was found dead, hanging under Blackfriars Bridge in London. Initially ruled as suicide, later investigations suggested murder, exposing dangerous links with the Masonic Lodge P2 and the Italian Mafia. The then president of the Vatican Bank, Paul Marcinkus, was accused of involvement but never tried, protected by Vatican diplomatic immunity. He was removed from office in 1989. Years later, new scandals emerged. In 2010, Ettore Gotti Tedeschi, the president of the Vatican Bank, was investigated for money laundering and removed in 2012 amid allegations of management irregularities. The suspicions included the movement of millions of euros in secret accounts used by clerics and businessmen to evade international tax controls. In recent years, the Vatican has attempted to adopt transparency measures. But the damage to the Vatican Bank's image remains profound, and distrust persists. The Vatican's secrets extend beyond financial scandals to confidential documents and letters. In 2012, the Vatican faced one of the biggest leaks of confidential documents in its history, known as vatileaks. For months, secret letters, memos, and reports circulated in the press, revealing a scenario of corruption, influence peddling, and infighting at the heart of the Holy See. The leaked documents showed embezzlement, favoritism in million-dollar contracts, and allegations of threats and blackmail within the Roman Curia. The epicenter of the scandal was Pope Benedict XVI's personal butler, Paolo Gabriele, who was accused of stealing documents from the papal apartment and giving them to the press, claiming to act out of love for the Church. An internal investigation revealed a network of power struggles that further eroded Benedict's pontificate, leading to his resignation in 2013. 3 years later, in 2015, the Vatican experienced a new wave of leaks called vatileaks II. This time, the documents revealed the misuse of charitable funds, personal luxuries financed by donations from the faithful, and less than transparent dealings with outside companies. Among those involved was Monsignor Lucio Vallejo Balda, who handed over information to Italian journalists in exchange for personal benefits. The revelations showed cardinals living in millionaire apartments, excessive spending on parties and renovations, and overpriced contracts benefiting companies close to the ecclesiastical summit. Officially, the Vatican has never had a secret service, but throughout history, the Holy See has maintained an efficient intelligence network. Discreet and effective, this network has functioned as an intelligence service for centuries. During the Middle Ages, agents in the service of the popes collected information on kings, nobles, and potential threats to the Church's authority. During the Inquisition, the network spread throughout Europe, with clerics and inquisitors acting as spies, identifying heretics and movements that could undermine papal power. In the 19th century, after Italian unification and the loss of the Papal States, the Vatican intensified its secret operations. Apostolic nuncios, representatives of the Holy See in other countries, acted not just as diplomats but also as intelligence gatherers, passing strategic information directly to the Pope. During the 20th century, this network showed its strength during the two world wars. In World War I, Pope Benedict XV maintained direct contact with leaders on both sides of the conflict, using his diplomatic service as a channel for real-time information. In World War II, Pope Pius XII used these connections to obtain secret reports on the Nazi advance and the Holocaust, months before the international press. The Holy See allegedly acted secretly to help Jewish refugees and opponents of the Nazi regime through the so-called monastery route, with priests and bishops hiding the politically persecuted, often with the knowledge and coordination of the Vatican itself. Another name that comes up is Monsignor Hugh O'Flaherty, known as the Scarlet Pimpernel, who led a clandestine network that saved around 6,000 people in Rome during the German occupation. Throughout the 20th century, during the Cold War, the Vatican was also accused of collaborating with Western intelligence services, especially the CIA, to contain the influence of communism in Europe and protect the interests of the Catholic Church in Eastern European countries. Today, there is no official agency, but the tradition remains. After all, those who keep so many secrets need to know exactly who they are dealing with. When it comes to security within the Vatican walls, another name stands out: the Swiss Guard. The Swiss Guard has been directly responsible for the Pope's security for over 500 years. Founded in 1506 by Pope Julius II, it came into being at a time when Swiss mercenaries were considered the most loyal and well-trained soldiers in Europe. The most emblematic episode of this loyalty occurred in 1527 during the sack of Rome, when 147 Swiss guards died protecting Pope Clement VII, ensuring his escape to Castel Sant'Angelo. Today, the Swiss Guard numbers around 135 men, all Swiss citizens, Catholics, single, and with compulsory military experience in the Swiss army. Despite their traditional Renaissance-inspired uniforms, their training is modern, including self-defense, security tactics, and the use of firearms. They not only protect the Pope during his public appearances and trips but also control access to the Vatican and ensure the security of official events. Even with all this protection, it's not always possible to prevent church resources from being used for purposes far removed from charity. One of the most controversial cases in recent years involves the purchase of a $1 million building in London. In 2020, the Vatican found itself at the center of yet another financial scandal involving the purchase of a luxury building in London's Chelsea district. The property, valued at around €350 million, was purchased with funds that should have been earmarked for charity. The money came from St. Peter's Pence, a fund fed by donations from the faithful around the world, intended for humanitarian aid and social projects. However, part of the money was diverted to high-risk investments in the real estate market. Cardinal Giovanni Angelo Becciu, at the time responsible for the administration of the Secretariat of State, was named as one of the main organizers of the deal. He resigned after the accusation came to light, although he denies any illegal involvement. The investigations revealed a complex corruption scheme involving businessmen, financial consultants, and members of the top Vatican hierarchy. Overpriced contracts and suspicious commissions raised doubts about the control and transparency in the management of money donated by the faithful. Where there is influence and power, there are also those who seek to control it, like the controversial Opus Dei. Founded in 1928 by the Spanish priest José María Escrivá, Opus Dei aims to bring holiness closer to everyday life. Its members seek to live their faith at work, in the family, and in society. However, behind this devout image, the organization is often accused of acting as a powerful network of political and economic influence inside and outside the Vatican. Opus Dei gained strength during the papacy of John Paul II, who canonized Escrivá in record time. Since then, the institution has established itself as one of the most influential groups in the Roman Curia, with many of its members holding strategic positions in the Holy See's financial administration and doctrinal commissions. Critics accuse Opus Dei of operating as a kind of parallel church with its own rules and priorities, often at odds with other currents within Catholicism. Its links with conservative politicians and billionaire businessmen reinforce the image of an organization that seeks to shape papal decisions and influence the direction of the Church. Officially, Opus Dei is a personal prelature, answering directly to the Pope, but its power often seems to go beyond what appears in official documents. Few secrets are as mysterious as those locked away in the Vatican's secret library. At the heart of the Vatican is a place that has fascinated and intrigued people for centuries. Officially known as the Vatican Apostolic Library, it is often referred to as the Secret Library due to its restricted access and the content stored there. Founded in 1475, the library houses more than 80,000 manuscripts and documents covering almost 2,000 years of church and human history. Among the most valuable items are documents from the Roman Empire, Michelangelo's letters, Galileo's scientific treatises, and records of the trials of the Inquisition. However, what most excites the imagination of scholars and the curious are the volumes that have never been shown to the public. There is speculation that they contain archives on heretical sects, apocryphal texts recounting the life of Jesus, and even records of secret meetings with heads of state. Access to the so-called reserved section is limited to a few accredited researchers, and even then under strict conditions. It is not permitted to photograph, copy, or disseminate the contents without the express authorization of the Holy See. The Vatican's secret library remains a symbol of power and control over knowledge, a reminder that not everything is within sight.